I just had a visit with one of my best friends. I would say that that's actually an insult because he's even more than that. He's me in other form. Always has been, always will be. Nick Snida. My best friend in childhood, there was two of them. There was Joe Lupo and Eric Snida. Then came in Taven Markov. But I don't want to exclude him, but at the same time, Eric's little brother, Nick, and his middle brother, Phil. They're like family to me. So they're more than just best friends. They're all family. Even Joe and Taven, they're family. They're light family. And I know people don't like talking that way, but we are. We didn't have to be born from the same mother. We're in the same earth, and we were from the same sign. So trying to talk some of this stuff to Nick, I figured the best way to start would be with the letters and the numbers. And then he said, what are you telling me all this for? Because he saw that it's accurate. It makes a lot of sense. But why would I be telling him that? And what am I going to do with this for people? And I said, if people understood how letters and numbers work as magic, it's not just mathematics, it's magmatics, I would say. But it's at a point where we didn't learn the magical part. We just learned the science and the math part that people taught us. And we started that at such an early age of 4 or 5 from preschool and kinder care and all those kind of things now that we never had the chance to think our own original thoughts. And he gets that. And then as I go on talking about stuff, and I hate to use the term breaking down, but explaining the definitions of living people, living things, living places, things that we know about, words, everything in general. Not one thing could he say that I was wrong. But then he's like, well, so what you're doing is, when you go to people and you tell them your opinion, I'm like, it's not my opinion, dude. This is the truth. So why do you keep saying your opinion? He's like, well, you know what I mean. And I'm like, no, the point is, you don't know where I'm coming from. I remember before human beings existed. And I remember, really, I'm not just saying it. I really remember these things. I was there. I am there. And I get it. So he's like, well, you got to appeal to people the way, they can accept it, the way they can hear it. I mean, and I said, so how do you tell people stuff that's going to hurt their feelings? Like you were always taught wrong. And even the people who cared about you taught you wrong because they didn't know the depth. I'm not trying to offend you, but it's true. They didn't know. So they couldn't have taught you completely because they didn't know. And I can teach them completely now. So if you need to hear from them, let me teach them, and then they'll teach it to you. But if not, it's right here for you. And I'm trying to do it in the calmest, nicest way. And he's like, well, you got to do it without, being so forward about it. And I'm like, well, for years, I tried to just talk quietly and peacefully to people, and nobody took it. And now I see things going really bad because I knew those things were going to happen if something didn't change soon. And they didn't change by me trying to be all happy and nice. So then when they started getting really bad, I quit my job and said I have to dedicate myself to helping the world wake up. That's more important than anything else. And he'll agree with that. People need to, start living a life that makes more sense. And he himself lives in a house sort of off without any neighbors, off in the woods, and he does his own thing, and he barbers hair and, helps people build things for side money to pay that kind of stuff, and he sold his businesses from years ago, so he's got money to pay bills, so he's not really living that money life anyway. So he gets that. But what I'm trying to say to him is he's also a person who doesn't go out in public and doesn't do anything. So when I say what I need to try to find and do is to appeal to people out there in the world. And he goes, well, why do you want to do that? I'm like, because my kids, they're coming up in this world. And guess what? We will be back in this world. Don't think that this is the only you'll ever be. In fact, you're all of them, and you will actually go through their lifetime someday soon. So you actually are them right now. You just aren't feeling it through their life experience. You'll die and you'll be one of them. That's what I'm trying to explain. And he's like, well, don't you think the afterlife? I'm like, this is the afterlife. This is the only life there is. When I say that doesn't mean physical green grass and leaves falling from trees and sunshine. I mean, this is the only life there is. Without all those words and all those things that you've seen and touched, I know that side of the world, that side of spirituality, that side of the universe, more than I know the physical side anymore. The physical side is a bunch of people who are making mistakes and they're acting on impulse and routine, and it's destroying us. And he goes, well, I get that. I see where you're getting. He's like, you're getting somewhere. You're getting there. And I'm thinking, what do you mean I'm getting there? It's just funny because I love him, man. And I see that he's trying to make sense of it and doesn't want to say, wow, dude. Because then he'll say, I see you're onto something. And when I say this, I'm not trying to put him down. I love him. He was trying to say, well, what I got to do is try to appeal to people the way that they'll accept it. And I'm like, how do people accept stuff then? That's what I'm trying to say is people only accept stuff if it's smut, if it's garbage, if it's broadcasted with a bunch of flashy girls and money. I mean, and I can't do that. My soul will be punished if I do that. And when I say it, I'm not joking. And that kind of talk is big talk. And most people don't think that I'm serious when I say that and don't really understand that I am on that level. We all are. It's just I know what happens to me when I die, and I can actually teach people how to have a okay death and how to have a better next lifetime, because there's only one life with multiple lifetimes. And when you get to the point where you don't want to come back to Earth anymore, you can do that. But that's such a deep thing that people aren't ready for that until they're really ready to wake up. And they're not going to do that until they stop eating meat, stop doing these certain things, stop drinking beer, stop watching, smut and garbage that introduces those ideas to their brain. Their brain is where their light shines through in the physical world. Their heart has a place to play, because it pumps everything through. So if you start focusing on those things and coming from your heart and your mind and really caring about what you do and really thinking about what you do, not just going through a routine, things change a lot. So he's telling me, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, and try to say it this way and try to say it that way. And maybe I'm like, dude, I have 2,500 videos online. Listen to them and tell me where you think I'm wrong, and tell me where you think that I haven't done what you're saying. I have done that. You just haven't seen it yet. And he's like, well, then try to do it like this. I'm like, no. What I'm saying is I've already done it. So if you want to know, if you want to learn, if you care enough about the truth, it's there for you. And I do say it in a nice, calm fashion most of the time. There are also recordings of me getting personally involved with my life because I have a lifetime, and that's me right now, Dan Alexander, going through issues in a life that I can handle and that I need to take care of. And in some of those situations, I need the cooperation of other people. That's why I'm here on earth, to correspond with other people. This is about my children, and they have other people involved in their lives. So I'm not trying to remove those other people from their lives. I'm trying to have those people see that there's a great, great benefit to the well-being of my children with me being involved. There's actually a great, great benefit to their well-being of all of these people who don't like me if they would just listen to what I'm saying. They don't even know what they have against me except for their thoughts of me. And if they would just listen and think to themselves like, well, what do I have against him? He did this, he did that, did. What am I doing now? I'm trying to help you. I care about you. I love you in a way that can't be even touched by anybody else. That's how much I love people. I'm here to die for the truth, not go risk myself for something stupid, but I'm here to tell people the truth no matter what it takes. And I'm not trying to be like gung-ho and go do something crazy. I'm right here. I'm right here for people. It does get annoying when I have to play my personal ego and then be told to do this and go do that and grab this. Hey, don't just stand there, grab this thing. Oh, go help him do this. We're going to put you over here on this spot today. We're going to move you over here. We're going to do this with you because you're a great worker and we like using you because you do what needs to be done. And, as a human being or as a person with emotions and feelings and thoughts, we ain't 1% interested in you, but we can see that you're a great worker. So we're just going to put you to work for us. And that's where people are. They're in that, what can I get from you? How can you help us be benefited? And what can we make with and because of you? And that's it. There's no, how can you actually morally increase my spiritual being? People aren't thinking that way. They were taught to not think that way. And when they are taught to think about a Bible, they're taught to think that way. And they're taught to think that it's okay, that one Christ came down to the world and died for your sins. No, there was lots of Christs, and there was lots of people named Jesus. But that one specific one in the Bible that is told to you as a story did happen once, many other times in different ways, but it did happen. And it's happening through each and every one of us too. We are the junction of energy, of source, unified source. which is sun and earth. Junction, expression, source, unit, source. There's that, Jesus, the juice of the earth and the sun. And then there's Christ, concept, here, reoccurring, in or identified, subject, plus. What do you think that is? It's coming into tense. And it's JESUSCHRIST. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's that simple. But people don't want to hear that because they learned something different. And if you learn something different, you think you're smart. And it really smarts when you see that the things that you didn't know were true and the things that you thought were true were wrong. That's when that hurt kind of smarts comes in, because it's a source manifested as a recognized plus or thing. Smart. Boy, he's really smart. He knows all about that thing, that subject manifested as a recognized thing. He's smart because he knows about that. And when someone gets hit in the arm, ow, all of a sudden there's this thing here that I feel. I'm like, ow, that smarts. That's why we use that word. When somebody actually can tell you the truth about everything and say it simply to you without worrying about sugarcoating it for your feelings, that's not my responsibility. My responsibility to you and to God and to nature, to the universe, to the most divine creator beyond words, is not to sugarcoat things and say it nicely. It's to say it truthfully and with love. And that's what I'm doing. So when people tell me that I got to present it this way or do it that way, I'm like, dude, you give me a place to stand in front of a crowd of people and watch what happens. Great things will happen, especially if they're there to listen and learn, not to debate, because there is no debating the truth. You can't say, I don't want that to be the truth, because it is, whether you like it or not. I can tell you how things work, not how I want things to work, how they are, how they really happen. That's what I can tell people. And they don't like that because people aren't supposed to know. And even Nick said, well, God made it so that if anyone was to know that kind of thing, they wouldn't be here on earth. I'm like, well, I'm here. So you were just told that to believe that. Who told you that? Who wrote that book? Wasn't that a human being? Yeah, it wasn't the word of God. It was to another human being who at one point in time said to people he understood God, like I'm saying, and what I'm saying makes more sense than them. Doesn't it not? Do you think if you were a living thing other than a human being, take the word human being out, that something else besides you should come and chop you up and eat you? You're walking around on the earth. There is a fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional kind of being. Ones who grow in place and branch out and drop fruit. Ones who walk and show the signs of scared or the signs of emotion when you threaten them. Why do you think that it's okay to keep imposing once they show the sign of please leave me alone, don't hurt me? Why do you think it's okay? Because you've grown to like it and you're okay with that? That's something deep down in your soul that needs to be healed. Like Nick goes, I can never stop eating my chicken wings. I'm like, well, don't you think that was a living thing that deserves to live? And he's like, oh, that's where people are going to disagree with you because, I believe God put things down here for the circle of life. I'm like, I already told you don't need to eat like that. That was broadcasted to you by other people who fed you stuff and you grew into those things. Your body is made up of those things: water, minerals, and meat. And because you have meat in your system, you crave meat. So you have an animalistic tendency in your mind. You're not an animal. You're part animal. But nobody wants to hear that because they feel that's an insult. But it's true. Are you not made up of the things you eat? No. I just eat them. I don't get nothing from them. No nutrients, no nothing. No. You get their karma. That's what you get. You get their cellular, whatever is left of their alive cellular body, you get. Holding its fear, holding its pain, holding its poisons, holding its GMOs, and you get those. So go ahead and love your chicken wings. You've been duped into eating them and keeping yourself stunned. And nobody wants to hear that. Because if he stopped doing it, he'd actually understand what I'm talking about. He could stare at the sun and hear messages from nature and then look them up and see that they're real. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. When I told him all this stuff, he's like, where'd you learn this from if you don't watch TV and this and that? And I'm like, I only watch Wheel of Fortune. So I don't watch TV. And when something comes on as a commercial, ask anybody who's ever seen me in the last 5 years. Anything that comes on TV, I put my headphones on so I don't hear them, or I leave the room and I do some push-ups or a workout because I don't want to hear stuff. Because I don't want to hear other people give me ideas, because then I hear those ideas and they come true. I can say something that I had in a vision about something horrible and then it comes true. So what I've learned not to do is to not talk about them. So when he's like, well, when you go to die, and I'm like, I actually know when I'm going to die. And he's like, well, when? Do you know how? Like, tell me how it's going to happen and when. And I'm like, dude, if I did that, it'll happen. Why would I want to do that? I've said it to people before in my life about a certain age and all this kind of stuff, and I've reversed that. So I don't want to talk about what I know to be, because it becomes more real then. And when it becomes more real for me, in my reality, because this really does happen, it'll happen sooner. And I don't want to talk negative about stuff. I talk about the bad things that are going on in our lives to make them apparent to people that these are what we need to work on, because as a whole, the contribution is adding up to a certain outcome. You can't stack up something and either expect it to get like a bigger pile or to eventually topple over. And right now, the pile is getting so big, it's toppling over. It's in the middle of toppling. And everyone knows that, but they don't want to face it, and they don't want to look for answers. They just want to go, oh no, it's happening. What do we do? No, quit saying what do we do and start doing something. And make sure that whatever it is a conscious effort to do good. It shouldn't be that hard. I'm going to leave it at that. I love Nick. I love the family that I have. I love the people of the world. I love God. Peace.